I have a bunch of naked cattle panel trellises, as you can see behind me, that need to be planted out. So that is what we are accomplishing today. I'm growing some new stuff I'm super excited about. I'm also going to talk about the benefits to growing vertically if you are considering adding cattle panel trellises or another maybe more traditional vertical structure to your garden. What exactly is vertical gardening? It is an urban garden method meant to get your plants up off the ground, growing vertically. You can grow beautiful green lush walls of vegetation. What type of plants would we grow on a vertical structure? Now, of course, tomatoes are probably the first thing people have in mind. Keep in mind that a determinate variety is not going to cover the top of a cattle panel trellis. You'll want to carefully select an indeterminate variety of tomato plants to ensure that it's going to cover the top of your cattle panel trellises. This is because indeterminate varieties continue to grow through most of the season, getting more than twice the size of a determinate variety. You can also grow watermelons vertically. Make sure that you are selecting a smaller variety, such as a sugar baby watermelon. I have grown these without adding any type of support to the watermelon, and they grow to maturity without falling off of the plant. You can also grow pumpkins, a similar size, about a 10-pound variety, as well as any type of squash, zucchini. They will also trellis. Beans are also an amazing option for your cattle panel trellises or any other type of vertical structure. In addition to beans, cucumbers, and loofahs, any type of trellising or vining variety of vegetable plant is going to be the best options for your vertical garden. There are certainly a ton of benefits to vertically growing your plants. I live in zone 9. We're in Florida here. It is a subtropical environment and the humidity is real in the summertime. There are so many pests and so many disease opportunities at every single corner, especially when those summer rains really take into effect. It's super hard on the sensitive crops such as squash and pumpkins. When you have the plants off the ground, you're able to inspect underneath the plants so much easier. You can visually see if there is any type of pest, bug infestation occurring, and you can take care of it just by, reaching up above. If these plants are on the ground, it makes it so much harder to inspect and identify a pest issue. Powdery mildew is almost a guarantee when you're growing any type of squash and zucchini plants. Even if you are the best gardener who holds your little plant's hands at every step of the way. But one way to help combat that is to increase the amount of airflow available to your plants. Getting these plants up off the ground allows airflow, and it really prevents these plants from sitting in a wet and humid environment. Also helps mitigate the amount of powdery mildew or any other disease like that could occur. At any point in a gardener's life, you're going to be faced with a critter invasion trying to take your precious crops that you have grown for months on end. And I'm talking deer, rabbits, squirrels, raccoons, mouse, anything like that is going to start eyeing your precious cantaloupes and watermelons, which I know from experience, this has happened to me. Steal them, eat half of it, and break your heart. If you're growing vertically 8 feet in the air, it's going to make it much harder for most of those creatures to reach your crops. Like a rabbit, I don't think a rabbit's going to be able to climb up there and eat your watermelon off of the vine. So it's going to help if you have an issue with that in your particular yard. One of the reasons I absolutely love to grow vertically is that it condenses a ton of space. Now, I'm always trying to maximize my garden beds and fit as much crops in there as what makes sense. And when you're growing vertically, you're growing upwards and onwards instead of getting the plants all over the ground, taking up a ton of unnecessary square footage. I don't know about you, but I do not have a ton of time to spend pulling weeds. I have a huge huge garden. I just don't have the time to get out here and tediously pull a bunch of individual weeds. So when you are vertically gardening, that is one of the biggest benefits, is that the plants are up and off the ground. They're not sitting on the ground competing with the grass or any other weeds that happen to get in there for vital nutrients from the sun and also from the compost and things like that you're feeding them. So it makes the weed management so much quicker, and also makes those crops much healthier because they have access to those nutrients, and you're going to get a much larger yield as a result too. The direction of these structures is really important. I face all of my cattle panel trellises running from east to west. That way they're getting an even amount of sun, and not one particular side is going to be more lush and full due to more sun exposure than the other side. So if you face these particular structures from north to south, what's going to happen is there's always going to be one part of the day that's going to receive more sun, so one part of your structure is going to look more lush and uneven. My favorite reason to grow vertically is that it looks fantastic, and it is so welcoming when those trellises start to fill on in, whether you're creating a wall of greenery or a beautiful magical looking arch. It looks so inviting, and it makes you happy. You want to be out in your garden and look at those plants and be a part of the whole nature experience. And it's also something fun to show off if you have guests over, or you're trying to have like a party or something like that. It's just a cool conversation piece. I have 3 main structures I use to trellis my vegetables. This is a really affordable option. I don't remember how much it costs, but I will include a link with a full breakdown and how to build these. They took no time to build. Now, they are not extremely durable. I've had these for a few years and they've already started to kind of wear down, but if you're looking for a quick project that didn't cost very much, this particular structure is great for you. I am growing some cucumbers on these right now that have already started to sprout. These are the muncher cucumbers, and last year they did very, very well here. The next structure is the cattle panel arches that everybody has seen, I'm sure. They are very, very simple to install, and actually really simple to uninstall as well, in the event that you decide, hey, this is not the best location for these particular arches. So although they are semi-permanent, they're very, very durable. These particular arches have lasted through multiple hurricanes without even budging an inch, and they're also really, really strong. My son will climb all over on the top of them, and they do not budge or sag. We've also used the cattle panel walls, which I would definitely suggest are great options for tomatoes, whether that be the indeterminate or determinate varieties. They are a beautifully consistent structure that is also going to withstand many different elements for many different years, and they're really easy to also install and uninstall if later you decide, hey, I would like to use these particular cattle panel walls as cattle panel trellises, which is what we're doing right now. We actually uninstalled our 2 walls, and we're going to make them a cattle panel tunnel instead, and put 2 of those trellises back to back. So it is pretty flexible when you are starting to create your garden layout and you decide later that you don't necessarily want this or that there. First, I'm growing the winter luxury pumpkin. These are known for an absolute fiberless flesh, and they only get to be between 6 and 9 pounds, which makes it absolutely ideal for the cattle panel trellis. Now, you'll want to plant these, any type of pumpkin seeds in general, about 1 inch into the soil. The germination is going to be between 7 and 14 days, depending on your particular climate or how warm it is outside. Right now, I would expect germination in about 7 days. I am planting at least 4 seeds per side that I will go back and thin out later to only 2 plants per side. Welcome to the other side of this cattle panel trellis. I have some carrots in the way, but I'm also planting the winter luxury pumpkin on this other side too, just to keep it symmetrical looking. But some of these cattle panels I'm actually going to do half and half this time. So it just really depends. Do you want it to be a perfect symmetrical look, or do you want half of the cattle panel trellis to be covered with one crop or another. So it just really depends on like whatever look you want, but there's really no wrong way of doing it. Next, I've got the Berg's Buttercup Squash. These are really ideal candidates for a cattle panel trellis because they only get to be about 3 to 3.5 pounds in size. So you're definitely not running the risk of these falling off the vine. I'm only going to do 1/2 of the cattle panel trellis with these, and the other side I'm probably going to do with cantaloupes, I'm thinking. For this particular cattle panel trellis behind me, I am planting the candy roaster squash. I have seen a ton of people planting out the candy roaster squash on their cattle panel arches, and they do really, really well. I've never grown the candy roaster squash before. It says anywhere from 5 to 10 days before it will germinate. I'm sure we'll have no problem because we've got some warm weather coming up here, but they absolutely look delicious. I've never eaten them before, so I'm really, really excited, and I have very high hopes for these candy roaster squash. We did it. We planted out these cattle panel arches. That's just one more thing I have checked off the spring garden list. Now, I wish I had done everything all at the same time and I was a little bit more ahead, but you know, life happens, and all we can do is do our best over here. I'm just excited to have the seeds in the ground because in a few weeks everything is going to look dramatically different. If you don't want to miss out on that, definitely hit the subscribe button and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video too. My name is Shelby, and thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.